All right, 49ers defense taking on Matthew Stafford and the struggling, vulnerable, beleaguered Rams offense. This is a simple matchup for San Francisco because the Rams are just so depleted up front. That's my first text title to put up here. They've got a rookie center. That's because of all the injuries to the offensive line. Steve Avila on IR. Jonah Jackson on IR. Joe Noteboom on IR. Matthew Stafford has been sacked several times already this season. And, I put up the graphic yesterday, and I think that this one is worth sharing again. This is how staggeringly bad the Rams' pass protection has been. They're right here. You don't want to be this far to the left. I mean, everybody else and pass protection around the league is bad in general. I'm going to get more into this tonight, but that's the main reason why we've seen such a downtick in passing numbers over the course of the first 2 weeks. 100 touchdown passes through 2 weeks last season, only 66 this season. Passing yardage is way down as well. Brock Purdy actually leads the league in passing yardage, 550 yards. Everybody's talking about cover 2, cover 3, and how cover 2, which is the anti-pass kind of defense, might be slowing things down. Well, the bottom line, I think, is that offensive line play has been seriously outpaced by defensive line play, especially if you're Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Look where he's at, way down here. Anyway, the Rams, they're going to be starting at center Bo Limmer. He's a rookie, and anytime that you have a rookie center, that's tough. That's something that the 49ers can capitalize on. I think we've already seen the Rams and their injuries catch up to them along the offensive line when they lost 41-10 to the Arizona Cardinals last week. Stafford can execute under pressure. He has before because he can make circus-like throws. He has some of that arm talent. He obviously isn't a fast quarterback, though. And generally in the past, Ben Baldwin had made the funny chart that compared pass protection versus efficiency for both Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford. And it seemed that the protection and efficiency had been very correlated between both of them. The short translation is that Jared Goff struggled big time whenever the protection in front of him faltered, and Matthew Stafford seemed to follow a similar trend. I do think that he's better than Jared Goff under pressure because of what he's physically able to do throwing the football downfield. But end of the day, rookie center, multiple offensive linemen on injured reserve. This is a game for the 49ers to try to go eat up front. And I talked about the importance of interior pressure for San Francisco yesterday, given the fact that Bo Limmer, the rookie, is the starting center, given the fact that Steve Avila, Jonah Jackson, and Joe Noteboom are all out, given the fact that the Rams really felt the need to improve their interior pass protection over the course of this offseason. They went out and they got 2 guards, including Jonah Jackson, who's not available in this game. It's important for Javon Hargrave and company to really be productive in this football game, to take advantage of that Rams weakness inside. Hargrave only 3 pressures through the first 2 games. So San Francisco needs him to step it up on the inside. There was a great new statistic that Pro Football Focus introduced today. I just tweeted it out. I'm going to get this up on the screen, help those guys promote what they're doing at PFF. This was about Nick Bosa and also about somebody that the 49ers played last week, and Andrew Van Ginkel. But PFF is now tracking the top edge rushers, or no, just the top pass rush winners, not just edge rushers. So this is going to include anybody that's rushing the passer, but the top 5 winners in pass obvious situations. This is from last season in pass obvious situations. Bosa, number 1, even in a relatively down year for Nick Bosa, 30.5%. Andrew Van Ginkel, who was with Miami but is now with the Minnesota Vikings, he wrecked a lot of the 49ers plans last weekend. He's at number 2, 28.6%. Dexter Lawrence, the ferocious defensive tackle for the New York Giants, right behind him at 28.5%, number 3. Then it's Aaron Donald, the former Ram, but the retired Ram, at number 4 at 28%, and Myles Garrett of the Browns, 27.5%. So Aaron Donald we'll talk about him and his absence since he's retired when we do our next video tonight, 49ers against the Rams defense. The fact that the 49ers don't have to play Aaron Donald this week, but did have to play Andrew Van Ginkel last week, well, there's a drop off for the 49ers in terms of quality of competition. But I want to focus more on Nick Bosa at the very top. And this is the new key at the bottom of the screen. The 49ers should have their matchup in this game if they stop Kyren Williams, the powerful Rams running back. Because if LA cannot run the ball in this game, they're going to be in pass obvious situations behind a depleted offensive line, and they're going to be facing the best in the game as far as rushing and pass obvious situations, and that's Nick Bosa. You stop the run to have some fun. Now, the 49ers didn't stop the run last week. Minnesota was able to get off for 6-7 yards per carry for a lot of that game. Sam Darnold was able to escape the pocket and run. I know Sam has a better set of legs than Matthew Stafford. Sam Darnold is a younger quarterback. He can move better. So that was more of a threat last week. But if the 49ers aren't disciplined this week, then damage can happen on the ground in that regard as well. But stopping Kyren Williams, the back out of Notre Dame, is a bigger body back who's able to break some tackles. It's going to be key for the 49ers. The tackling has been good for San Francisco through 2 weeks. That hasn't been an issue, but it's been alignment. It's been scheme. It's been tying front and coverage together and knowing when the run is coming. They have to be on their toes ready for this Rams run game, even though LA has not run a lot on early downs. I showed this one last night. It's worth bringing back. This is early down pass rate. LA at the very top, passing nearly 70% of the time on early downs. But that 22% can really hurt you, and that 22% can grow if the 49ers are not ready. It's funny. It's a matchup of opposites in this game if you look to where the 49ers are. New Orleans doing a lot of the same things as the 49ers, by the way, with Clint Kubiak as their offensive coordinator. But the Rams up here passing a lot on early downs. We'll see if they hold tendency. If they're passing a lot behind an inexperienced offensive line, thanks to all those injuries, well, the 49ers definitely have some of the personnel to get after Matthew Stafford. And I'll just keep on bringing this back throughout the course of the week. 49ers have also had a perpetual linebacker advantage over the Rams. And Matthew Stafford talked about Fred Warner, who was snubbed from Defensive Player of the Week, but we know that he was extremely productive for the 49ers. Hall of Fame level performance for San Francisco against Minnesota. Here's Stafford talking about Fred Warner.
I mean, one word, I don't know. There's a bunch. He's a really good player. He's obviously a really intelligent football player, understands what's going on around him, how he fits into the scheme of their defense, what offenses are trying to do to try to attack their defense. He's a relentless competitor. You see him flying around all over the place making plays. I mean, he's hunting up a special route and then, knocks the ball out last week on the 1 yard line. So, I mean, he's relentless, continues after the ball no matter what the, situation is. Big time competitor and a really good linebacker.
You heard Stafford say that Warner was hunting out a special route. That was Trent Sherfield, former 49ers receiver who is now with the Minnesota Vikings, was on his route and Fred Warner was covering him. And Warner actually talking on his podcast was discussing the fact that he and Sherfield were actually having a verbal back and forth, or at least Sherfield was talking to him. He was trying to get Warner to follow him, and Fred knew something was up when Sherfield was saying, "Follow me, Fred. Run with me, Fred. Run with me." Well, he knew that the ball was elsewhere, and the ball was elsewhere to Aaron Jones on the screen pass. So Warner peeled off of Sherfield and confronted Aaron Jones before he was able to cross the goal line and punched the football out. I mean, that's a lot happening in a short amount of time. I mean, this is all bang, bang. This is just a few seconds worth of time. For Warner to even be considered to be able to cover Trent Sherfield, who was a fast receiver for the 49ers, for that to even be under the slightest consideration, Warner's got to be a talented, good player. At his size, what is he, 6'4"? I mean, just a massive linebacker as far as height goes. That allows him to close off some of those throwing lanes, but he's also big and strong enough to take on the run game. But he could run with those receivers, which is truly special on Fred Warner's part. But, not just the ability to do that or to be assigned to do that, but the ability to peel off of that, to have the instincts. And in this case, Trent Sherfield's words gave it away. Fred Warner was able to sniff out that something was happening behind him, but to be able to peel off of that in real time and then go confront Aaron Jones, get in his way. I mean, Aaron Jones is a shifty guy. Fred Warner, as a longer player, you would think that could be a weakness. He could get broken down by some of these shifty guys. That did not happen. And then also to be able to punch the ball out. I mean, to do all of those things in 4 or 5 seconds, Fred Warner is truly a special talent for the 49ers. And I talk about their perpetual linebacker advantage over the Rams. The Rams traded Ernest Jones the fourth away just a couple weeks ago. Might have been their best linebacker. The Rams have not prioritized the second level of the defense under Sean McVay. And I think this is why San Francisco has had such consistent success against the Rams. Shanahan is able to take advantage of defenses that do not have versatile linebackers. It was a lot harder to take advantage of Minnesota, who had the versatile Andrew Van Ginkel coming off that second level. Pass rusher, cover guy, can do a lot. We saw a lot of the looks that looked like they're going to be heavy pressure looks turn into cover 2 looks from the very first play of the game when Harrison Smith, the safety, was able to back up, sprint backwards, really. Chase Daniel did a good job showcasing that play. Brock Purdy went for the check down to Kyle Juszczyk. That was an amorphous defense. I don't know if the Rams are an amorphous defense. And, an amorphous defense starts with the linebacker position and the talent there, its ability to either come down and play the run or rush the passer or credibly drop back in the coverage. And the Rams haven't been able to do that because they haven't prioritized the linebacker position. So the 49ers positionless skill position offense can take advantage of that with their adaptability. Whereas on the other side of the ball, the 49ers have been amorphous defensively, as you just heard Matthew Stafford talk about Fred Warner, covering a receiver, peeling off of him, and being able to come and not only tackle Aaron Jones, but knock the ball out. So look for more of that advantage, 49ers against the Rams this week, because I think it is one of the biggest ones that the 49ers have. Offensively for LA, the offensive line is going to look like this, left to right. Alaric Jackson, who has had some struggles in the past against Nick Bosa as a backup tackle. He's a starting tackle now for the Rams at left tackle. Logan Bruss is the left guard. I mentioned Bo Limmer, the rookie center. Kevin Dotson, one of the new offensive guards for the Rams, who they signed in free agency. He's going to be starting at that right guard position. And Rob Havenstein is the right tackle for the Rams. Colby Parkinson, former volleyball player. He went to Stanford, didn't play volleyball for Stanford, was a tall tight end. He's 6'7", 6'8", then played for the Seahawks. Colby Parkinson is with the Rams as a tight end. So he's a tall red zone target that the 49ers do have to look out for. But they don't have to look out for Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp. Neither of those two guys is playing in this game. Both of them are hurt. Both obviously very talented receivers. And it's big that the 49ers do not have to worry about either of them. Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Johnson, Tutu Atwell, very, very small receiver, Tutu Atwell. He can work out of the slot, give the 49ers some trouble in that regard. Those are the targets, along with the very tall Colby Parkinson, that the 49ers are going to have to worry about. And then, of course, there is Kyren Williams, the running back. But I think, based on the assortment of weapons that the Rams are bringing to the table that I just outlined right now, I think if you stop Kyren Williams and you stop that, you even encourage maybe the Rams to run a little bit more early on, but because of the other setup of this offense, all the other injuries up front. But if you do stop Kyren Williams, you actually move the Rams into that pass-only mode or the pass-first mode, and that's where the 49ers can tee off on Matthew Stafford. It is a struggling Rams team right now for sure. The 49ers, not a whole lot of weapons that you look at that scare you. In fact, the one with the most credible track record is the quarterback himself, and Matthew Stafford, and the 49ers do have a solid track record of beating him. So I'm going to open this up to a 49ers Q&A. This is not the most complicated matchup. I put simple strategy. Fred Warner's defense against Matthew Stafford's Rams. That is the simple strategy for the 49ers. Let's talk a little bit about it. Good questions only, please. And we will move from there. Warner's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, he's a walking first ballot Hall of Famer. And he's not close to being done yet. I mean, that's the thing. He's still in his 20s, which is wild. Fred Warner put together a few more of these seasons, and he'll start entering the GOAT conversation at that linebacker position. 49ers would also help his argument there by winning a Super Bowl, which he can affect. But if you give Fred Warner a Super Bowl ring on top of the resume he already has, add a few years with that resume at that high level, then we're going to be having epic conversations regarding Fred Warner at the time that he retires. Because he's really, with Warner, I'll add this, he's a unique type of player that I think has spearheaded a lot of the change that we've seen in the game. Warner played DB in college. He was playing a nickelback type of role for BYU. You have so many linebackers now that were safeties. I don't know if there are any cornerbacks, but nickels back at the previous level of football that are now playing linebacker in the NFL because it's turned into a lighter coverage-oriented league. Now, the problem is if you're moving DBs to linebacker, a lot of these guys will be lighter. They'll be like 215-pound linebackers. Warner, he's still a big body. So, I mean, it's like if you went to a lab and built a linebacker for the modern game, it would be Fred Warner because he's big enough to continue to cover tight ends and continue to play the run, but he's also fast enough to be that DB type at the linebacker position who can cover. Here's a question about Hufanga. How's Hufanga looking? Well, I could show you right now. This is how he's looking. This is practice Wednesday. Hufanga back out on the field for the 49ers in a full capacity, and he is going to be back in this game. Remember, Hufanga has notched a pick 6 against Matthew Stafford and the Rams. He's a great recognizer and a great communicator. And I think the 49ers can use that ability at a time when their defense has seemed a little bit disjointed between the front and the coverage. So perhaps Talanoa Hufanga help him bark out some orders for the back end. Looking on down at the rest of the defense is exactly what the 49ers need heading into this week. But this is how Hufanga looks. Hopefully I was able to answer your question quickly and accurately enough. As Aldo says, the 97-yard touchdown still haunts him, and that was against safeties. And Talanoa Hufanga is obviously a safety, didn't play last week, so the 49ers hoping that those kind of breakdowns do not happen moving forward. You think that Javon Hargrave will generate at least 5 pressures on Sunday? We shall see. Pressure's on Javon Hargrave and the 49ers interior. When you've got I get it. There's a lot of pressure on Bo Limmer, the rookie safety for the Rams, the rookie center for the Rams. But the 49ers, he's expected to struggle. Javon Hargrave is a player that's 60-plus pressure per year player. He's expected to get to the quarterback. He damn sure is expected to get to the quarterback in a game where the Rams have so many injuries up front. I am not landing at John Wayne this week because I will be in LA. We're going to be staying in Beverly Hills, so it's going to be an LAX weekend. But next time I'm at John Wayne, breakfast burrito, or is this in the John Wayne Airport that you're saying, Nate's Corner? Is that in the airport or is it down there in Orange County? Next time I'm down there, I'm going to head out there for a breakfast burrito. Thanks for the note. Nigel's predicting a Mooney Ward pick on Matthew Stafford. Last year was Deommodore Lenoir. 49ers were up 27-20 at SoFi late in the game, and it was Lenoir who stepped in front of the Matthew Stafford pass with about 4 minutes to go to essentially seal things for the 49ers. Mike Urtaza, that's Mike. That's our Mike. He says Javon needs to step up. We're talking Rams offense against 49ers defense, guys. We'll go with the other matchup, 49ers offense against the Rams defense, with a bigger NFL blitz look after the game tonight. Patriots Jets tonight. That should be a good one. I think that one is being played in New Jersey. Richard Sherman was in Manhattan. Saw that on social media this morning for his Thursday night football duties. Nate's Corners, 5 minutes away from the John Wayne Airport in Orange County. Good knowledge. Thank you. 49ers do play New England next week. So you get the first look at San Francisco's next opponent after the Rams tonight on Thursday Night Football, which snuck up on us quick. It always does after those road games. So I think Thursday Night Football sneaks up on people quick regardless, actually, of where it is, because it's on Thursday. Who's more of a threat, Tutu Atwell or Demarcus Robinson? That's a good question. They're obviously different types of players. Tutu Atwell is very shifty, very quick. And I mean, that's how he makes his living at the NFL level, because he's very small. Demarcus Robinson is a little bit bigger. He's 6'1", he's 203. So he's going to be more of the standard X type of receiver. Tutu Atwell is going to be running more out of the slot. You've got to cover both of them, and you have to make sure that your coverage alignments, even if you're playing zone, so you're not specifically covering each of those guys with an individual defender, but you have to make sure that you're communicating well and that the coverage is tied to the rush. It hasn't been for the 49ers in key instances. They've given up way too many third down conversions. 7 of 12 last week. It wasn't much better, actually, week one, especially early in that game before the 49ers offense was able to drop the hammer, take control with the run game. So this is about the 49ers finding their stride defensively. And thankfully for them, they're not playing the most talented version of the Rams offense. As Mike says, the 49ers just need to bully Tutu Atwell. I mean, the measurements for Tutu Atwell are as follows. I'm looking it up right now. 5'9", 165. It's tough at 165. Even with a downsizing NFL defensively, 165 is not a heavy weight. So, yes, the 49ers press coverage if you can. I mean, he's quick. He can slip out of some of that stuff, but you have to, and you know, especially with somebody like Atwell on the field a lot, with Kupp injured and with Puka Nacua injured, it's tough for the Rams to run the football, because he's not going to be a good run blocker at 165 pounds, if that, right? I think he's 165 dripping wet. So it is a game that the 49ers want to turn into a bruising game, but you've got to be well aligned to turn it into a bruising game so you can handle Tutu Atwell. After 2 games, how do I grade Devondre Campbell? Average. I've seen some decent plays from him, some good pursuit, but I don't think he's been great in coverage. He's older. And we talked about this, that he was actually the worst rated linebacker in coverage last year. But this was just a couple years after he was an all-pro for the Packers. He's a fill-in player. Dre Greenlaw is progressing. Talked about my conversation with Dre yesterday as he was playing basketball in the locker room. But, you know, I think that the 49ers just need some sort of floor at that linebacker 2 position. I think Campbell has generally given it. It hasn't been like this huge glaring weakness for the 49ers, but he also isn't moving the needle in a tremendously positive way. I think he's been average for the 49ers over the course of the first 2 games. How do I see Isaac Yiadom's first 2 games? Well, he had the ceiling pass breakup against Garrett Wilson and the Jets in week 1. Say the Packers because Aaron Rodgers threw the football. Little slip there. Last week on one of the 3rd and longs to close the game, the one that went to Jalen Naylor where Sam Darnold threw before Naylor turned around, beautiful throw. It was Yiadom who's trailing Naylor up the field. Didn't look good for Isaac Yiadom. I don't think that he's been, and he recovered the fumble too from Aaron Jones that Fred Warner forced. I don't think that Yiadom has been bad. I think a lot of people see the secondary and they're like, well, who's the worst cornerback since they gave up 7 of 12 third downs? Oh, it's Isaac Yiadom. Look, he wasn't looking when that perfect throw from Sam Darnold went to Jalen Naylor. I think he's been okay so far. It's less about poor individual performances for the 49ers on defense on those third downs and more about the unit not being in sync yet. And they've got a new coordinator in Nick Sorensen. They're trying some new stuff out. Let's give them some time to see if and how they figure all this out, because I do suspect that the 49ers will. All right, good questions, everybody. Time for me to head down to the facility. 49ers practicing this afternoon ahead of this game against the Rams. Everybody enjoy. We'll talk to you soon.